Hi guys, welcome back to another Big Al Devlin video here on the House of Devlin on YouTube. Now this video is really going to be a video which is sort of off the cuff. I ain't got no cuffs, but off the cuff, you get what I mean. I'm going to be as honest and unscripted as you possibly can be, as you know, obviously the nature of the video. And that is, I'm going to try to answer and identify the common questions that I often get asked by people who want to get big, strong, or just want to make progress at weightlifting. Obviously, a lot of this applies to newcomers, people who, you know, have only just begun their path along the path of weightlifting. And when I say weightlifting, I mean bodybuilding, strongman, powerlifting, and of course Olympic weightlifting itself. And also I do also include just recreational training. You know, that's what I do. When I've been asked, I was asked a question actually earlier today by someone who met me face to face and actually recognised me here off YouTube, and they asked, oh, you know, do you compete? Have you had any competitions in weightlifting? And I said no. I don't compete at weightlifting or powerlifting or anything like that. I'm not strong enough. Pound for pound, I'm not good enough to do that kind of stuff. My talent actually lies in martial arts, and so that's where I will be competing in the future, and I'll do a video on that following this, where I expect myself to be in the next year or two. But my passion, my talent is martial arts, but my passion is weightlifting. I enjoy it so much that I've never, in the this sort of 11, 12, but no, I've been doing it since I was 16. You know, I'm now 30, so in the last 14 years, I've never once grown bored of the hobby, the sport, whatever you want to call it. I've never grown bored. I've had those days, don't get me wrong. I'm a human being just like the rest of people out there. I'm a human being, and I have had those days where I'm thinking, particularly when I'm suffering quite bad in the gym or I'm having a bad day, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Why am I putting my body through this? And that was more so at the beginning than it is now. You know, when I used to still, you know, when I was a student and I still used to go out drinking from time to time and training with a hangover. There's nothing worse, I can attest to that for for multiple experiences, and sometimes you do question yourself. There are easier paths in life to choose than obviously choosing to go down the gym and make something of your body as best as you can. And really, I suppose that's the first question a lot of people ask me on a personal level. What got you into weightlifting or you know, strongman or bodybuilding or whatever I would classify or be classified as? I would classify myself as, first of all, someone who just likes to go down the gym, a recreational weightlifter who tends to do quite well at it. I lift fairly big weights, and I can lift those big weights for a lot of reps, but I use it as a supplement, as I say, to my martial arts, and that's the sort of the background behind it, but it is my passion at the same time. But what got me into it is my father. He actually didn't want me to do weightlifting, so it's not like a direct influence. It weren't him going, oh, I want you to go down the gym and get some size or anything like that, or nothing along those lines. But my father used to be an international competitive powerlifter. He actually got a world record in a variation of the squat. He did you know, it wasn't a 1 rep max world record. It was how many times can you lift this weight for record, and he got 29 reps on 180 kilos, which would be about 410 pounds roughly. Okay, it's 4 20-kilogram plates aside, so it's a big weight, and for 29 reps with no rest, that is a lot harder than it sounds, trust me, because the best I've ever done is 12 reps in one go. And really, for me, what got me into weightlifting is when I was 16, I bought myself a pair of dumbbells that, you know, where you could slot the weights on and then screw them on so they wouldn't come off. And I bought myself a 5 foot long barbell also. And I decided that I wanted to try and put on a little bit of size, not much, because at that point I was very dedicated to my martial arts. I wanted to put a bit of size and a bit of muscle on, and the motivation was because I wanted to be, well, I wanted to look good for the girls. We're all like that, guys. Certainly at that age, the age of 16, there's so many hormones going through your body as a male that, you know, you don't always think straight. But at least that's, you know, a motivation that comes with a good end point. You know, just shaping your body, getting yourself in shape, trying to look good. There's nothing wrong with that. And if that continues to be your prime ambition behind your training, not necessarily to attract women, but just because you like for yourself to look good, you like to have a six-pack, or you like having 20-inch arms, or you like the fact that, you know, when you go to the gym you can bench press 200 kilos with no problems whatsoever, then you know, I know that's not strictly looks, but, you know, having that big barrel chest and all that, then fantastic, good for you. But for me, at the beginning, it was one of my motivations, but quickly I learned that I enjoyed what's called the pump. You only have to watch Pumping Iron, filmed by Arnold Schwarzenegger, to understand what the pump is. He popularized the term, if not created it, and he describes it like sex. When you get the pump, it's like having sex with a woman. It's not quite the same as having sex with a woman. You get a release of endorphins, yes. You feel good. The muscle feels as full as anything. But obviously there's no sort of happy ending, luckily, because you'd have to change your clothes every time. Is this a PG rated video? It's not now, is it? Let's put it that way. It's just a talk between fellow adults. But ultimately what I'm trying to say is that training and lifting weights at first can be a very painful experience, but when you start doing it for, you know, some period of time, maybe a year, maybe a few months, but a year at tops really, by that time you will have got hooked, because you'll be an addict. And it sounds bad, but you will become addicted to the endorphin rush that you get if you're training properly, that is. If you're not training properly, or you're training on and off, doesn't apply. But if you're training 3-4 times a week minimum, and when you're down there, you're not talking to your mates, you're lifting, you're trying to better yourself, you're lifting weights that you can feel, and you're lifting them from as many reps as you can, and you're training intelligently, you're alternating the muscle groups between sessions. So one day you do back, the other day you do chest, you know, so you're following antagonistic groups, following one another and stuff. I can go on the theory on that on another video if anyone's interested, but basically if you do this, you will get to the point where your body becomes addicted to this endorphin rush, which is a consequence of which follows the pain. Ultimately you start off feeling just pain really, but quickly your body will start to release endorphins, as it does through doing any sport. Weightlifting is not exclusive to this. The pain will remain there, but it will become just a simple reminder early on that what you've done is making your body stronger, and then eventually you'll learn to miss the pain, because the pain, it never fully goes away, but the pain does lessen. To some of you that might be something to look forward to, but when you get to that point, you'll miss the pain that, you know, newbies, so to speak, new guys get, because you're like, oh, I just wish I could feel that pain that locks your arms in place like this. So you're walking around like this, and when you're walking around, your legs just suddenly go after a really hard leg workout. It's something that after a while you can still get, but it takes significant, like, you know, really like superhuman efforts to get to that point, and even then you still recover quite quickly. And it's something that I miss, and it's something that you will miss. If you're already there, you'll miss it, and you'll be looking back and you go, oh, I wish I could feel that bit of pain again. So enjoy the pain whilst you've got it, if you're at that stage. And if you're not, well, enjoy the endorphin rush that we get, the addiction, essentially, that you have from training a lot. And this is not the reason why I lift. It's the reason why I continue lifting. The question is, I believe, was that how did I get into weightlifting? As you know, guys, I'm a very wordy person. I take at least 10 minutes to get to the point, but I like to tell stories. I suppose it's my Scottish heritage. If you ever watch Billy Connolly, he's a comedian. He will tell you a story, stop telling you a story, start telling you another story, and then get back to that story again like 10 minutes, 13 or 15 minutes later, and then come with the punchline of the joke, and it's hilarious. It's just the way that things are handled, and I suppose that's my heritage coming out. I tend to go on tangents from time to time, so forgive me if it's makes it a little hard to follow what I'm talking about, but bear with me, because I always do get to the point, or at least I hope I do. Basically, as I say, the question is not why I continue training, but I suppose I've answered a question there that some people would ask. Why do I train? Well, or continue training after so long? Well, because I enjoy the feeling of training. I enjoy being down the gym. I would not be down the gym unless I enjoyed it. If I found it boring, I wouldn't go. And there's a lot of people out there who find training very boring. My girlfriend is one of them. She hates it. And almost, in fact, every girlfriend I've had in the past hates training, doesn't enjoy it. It's not a female thing, it's just, you know, I tend to go for girls. I'll end up in relationships with girls that are not gym freaks, because I suppose it gives me a break from the gym. I don't know if I would like that kind of relationship that some people have, where you go down and you can train with your girlfriend or wife, and it might be a lovely thing to do. But I have that relationship with my father. As I say, he used to be a lifter, and so I have him as my coach, my mentor, and now I have him as my training partner. He actually sees me in many respects as an equal, because I do equal, if not sometimes better him at strength. Now that he's getting old and I'm entering my peak, or getting there at least anyway. Getting there at least. But why I started was actually him. That's why I just mentioned him there. The reason I started lifting is because of the record that he got. He got 29 reps on 180 kilos, and I just thought, that is so cool. I want to beat that. Father-son competitiveness, I suppose. I want to beat his record by just one rep. That's all I'm after. If I get more, then I get more. But I want to go there, and to be honest, I'll be happy if I just match him. But I really want to go on there, and I want to do 30 reps on 180 kilos. That's my target on squat. That's what I want to do. I want to do, as I say, it's about 410 pounds for let's work it out. It's 360. It's actually 396 pounds, not including the collars, so roughly 400 pounds. Okay, so 400 pounds for 29 reps is a lot of work. It takes a combination of fitness and strength, and that's exactly what I want to get out of my training. I want to be fit, but I want to be strong, because I've got this martial arts background, and I've kept this martial arts as I've gone on, and obviously being stiff or being muscle bound is something that I find abhorrent, the idea of, and that answers or gets us on to the next question. Some people go, well, how big do you want to become, or how big are you at this moment? dimensions wise, I've not measured myself recently, although I have done Big L's measurement videos here on YouTube for you. Feel free to watch them, but I have roughly a 52-inch chest. I think I have about an 18 and a half inch arm around the bicep, and I have a roughly 36 to 38 inch waist. So although my waist does go in around about 35 inches round the innermost point, you know, round here rather than round the hips. Round the hips, I'm a good 38 inches, but round the waist, so sometimes go down to 35. I'm not that at the moment. I'm probably more like a 36 and a half inches around there, because it waxes and wanes, you know. Sometimes you're extra big around those regions, and sometimes you're very slim around those regions. It just depends on what type of training you're doing at the time. And so how big would I want to become? Well, I weigh at the moment about 18 and a half stone. I weighed myself a week and a half ago, so I was 18 and a half stone at that point, or 18 stone 4 to be precise. So I wasn't quite 18 and a half stone. How big would I want to be? My dad, he's 60 years old. He's in similar condition to myself. Maybe a little bit more fat on him, but not much more. And he's an inch shorter than me, and he weighs 140 kilograms, 142 kilograms to be precise, which is roughly 22 stone. I would like to weigh that, or up to 24 stone. I think the biggest, the most weight that my body can carry healthily is about 24 stone. Anything more than that, I'll be pushing my heart. I'll be putting my body under stress. So I'll be happy with being 24 stone. I've got a calculator here. I'll convert that into pounds and stuff for you now, so everyone gets involved in the video. So 24 stone is the equivalent of 336 pounds. So that would be my sort of upper limit that I would really want to get to. Any more than that, I wouldn't be happy, actually. That would be my limit. That would be where I would allow myself to get up to. If I started to creep over that, because I kept putting the muscle on, I would make sure that I'm ripped, which I'm not. I am not ripped, guys. I'm in good enough condition. I'm in normal conditions, is what I would say. I'm in condition that someone is when they go down to the gym regularly, but they don't take their cardio super seriously. I'm not that kind of person. I don't care, and like when I was 16, having abs to try and attract women, because I've actually learned that most women don't like abs. And they prefer the cuddly type. So if I am trying to build a physique that women like, I suppose I'm doing better now than what I was when I was single, and more of that mindset. Let's move that out of the way. Sorry, I'm working in an area that I don't normally do. This is my editing room, so I'm just clearing some space for my arms. So we did the maximum weight, as I say, 336 pounds, which if I was to put that into kilos, would be about 153 kilos. Okay, so 153 kilos would be the most that I would like to weigh. Currently, what I weigh is, this is not super accurate, because as I say, I might have gone up 1 or 2 pounds over the last week or so, but I weigh 256 pounds at the moment, which is 116 kilos. So I'm heavy enough. If I don't get any bigger, so be it. I'll be happy with that. But but it's heavy enough to, certainly with what I want to do in the future, which, as I say, please watch this video coming up. It's about my intentions to go into a fighting association. I want to fight MMA, and I want to do as well as possible as a hobby. I'm not going to do it. I will be a professional fighter, but I'm not going to be fighting sort of professionally in the sense that it's be all and end all. It won't be my income, or anything along those lines. It'll be just something I do because I enjoy the sport of MMA, of boxing and things like this. I want to prove my skills, so the people here on YouTube, when they see me hitting the bag or doing martial arts or teaching people, and that when they're computer trolls, if you know what I mean, they're computer experts, behind the screen experts, they go, oh, you're shit on the bag, or whatever, you need to do this, you need to do that. I know some of them have a good heart and actually mean what they say, but it'd be my way of shutting them up and telling them to fuck off. I've got this, I've got this, and I've got this. You know, I've got this particular belt underneath me, and that's it. I know what I'm doing, and that's it. So, I mean, that's quite an aggressive way of putting it, but that's one of the reasons why I'll be doing it, alongside the fact that I have a passion for the sport. I do apologise, I just noticed I'm coming across really tired. It's about midnight over here over in England. At the moment I'm filming all my videos at night time because my girlfriend is recovering from an operation that she had on her leg, which is a result of a car crash she was in a couple of years ago. So we're still undergoing all that kind of shit, and she's actually having to sleep downstairs and I'm upstairs, and I can't film downstairs like I normally would, so I'm having to wait till she's asleep, come up here, do the video. So I'm sorry if my videos are coming across like I'm bored. I'm not, I'm just tired, because I'm not getting a lot of sleep. Now, the other sort of things I get asked are not actually most of the time, well, the last training related thing that I get asked before we go on to other things, are the person describes himself as a hard gainer, someone who doesn't gain weight very easily. They said they've been sometimes training for a year or two, they've gained hardly anything, a couple of pounds at most. Yeah, myself, I've gained a lot of weight over a very few period, only a few years. How have I done it, and what can they do to match it? The first thing I would answer that question with is a reality. We're all built differently. When we're born, we all get a set of cards to play with, so to speak. It's like playing poker, and you've got to play with the cards that you have. I was not born to have a rippling six-pack and veins coming down out of my arms and stuff like that. Some people have it naturally. I would have to basically starve myself and still probably wouldn't get to that region until I'm on the point of dying from malnutrition. So I naturally retain weight. I'm not fat, but I must have a slow metabolism. I'm not quite the answer behind it, because I can go for 2-3 days without eating and not lose any weight. But I can also go 2-3 days eating normal amounts of food, and I still won't necessarily gain any weight. But if I go down to the gym, then I will explode and I'll start putting on size. I'm lucky in that sense. I do gain size and I do gain muscle. My body responds to training because I've trained my entire life. I've trained since I was 5, not weightlifting. I've done martial arts my whole life since the age I was 5. When I was 10, 11, I took up rugby for about a decade. So my body's used to contact sport, and so I suppose it responds quickly because it's all it knows, you know, in that sense. And what I would say is, even if you've been training for, say, 2 years at weight training, if you don't have a background of sport behind you, then let's say when you were 19, for example, I would have had about 3 years experience of weightlifting, and it was minor at that point. So it was dumbbells and barbells in my bedroom, and to the point where I remember this is an actual memory that I have. My father came into the room. He walked from downstairs upstairs and came into the room thinking that I was masturbating because all the grunting and the heaving and you know, you could hear the movement of different things and stuff. He thought I must have been doing something crazy. Yeah, well, as I say, you know, I must have been a very horny teenager. He came in, expecting to see that, and he was delighted to see that I was actually taking an interest in my physique. I was training hard, but at that point, for some reason, I was too embarrassed to say this is what I want to do. I was too embarrassed to ask my father, who was an ex-competitive powerlifter and still trained and still does train to this day, for guidance. I was too ashamed to go down to the gym with him. I don't know why I felt shame over it, but I felt like it was a taboo topic to really bring up. I have no idea why, but that's how I started, and I didn't get really seriously into weightlifting until I was about 19. At that point, then, it became my primary sport over martial arts. Martial arts became a sort of some cardio, essentially. I'd use it as cardio and flexibility training around the age of 19, whereas then my primary workout was weight. Whereas the last sort of 3 years between the age of 16 and 19, it was 2 to 3 hours of martial arts, followed by 10 minutes to an hour at most of weight training, all in one go. And so your body's already messed up by that point. You're not going to really grow. It minimizes the growth that you can do at that point, but it toughens the body, it toughens the mind, training like that. And so what I would say is this: if you don't have a background in sport and you're, say, a 19-year-old, at that point, I'd already had 3 years experience. Let's say you also trained or have trained weight training since you were 16, initially in your bedroom, doing basic resistance work, right up to full grade gym training, like myself. Let's say you had a similar experience, but you had no experience of doing sports since literally you could almost walk, you know, since you were a 5-year-old, since you were a toddler. What I would say is, as a result, I actually would have, in your case, 16 years of training on top of you. And perhaps that's one reason why my body responds far quicker than a lot of people, other people experience, because I'm not a hard gainer. I gain weight very easily. I gain strength. I gain athleticism and fitness quite easily. But I think it's because it's what is natural to my body. However, I think the main answer is, there's two answers. It's genetic, which I've just sort of talked about, alongside obviously sort of the way that you're brought up. But it's also the fact that at the beginning, it is hard. Putting on weight, putting on size is one of the hardest things you can do. If it was easy, and if you were to go walk down the local high street, 90% of the guys you would see would probably be looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger, because that's what most men want to look like, that kind of big muscular man sort of look, you know, ripped to the bone but with huge muscles. If it was that easy to be big, and I don't look anything like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I am big. I'm not, you know, best part of 19 stone. You don't get to that weight without significant effort, especially when I first started doing weightlifting. I weighed 10.5 stone. When I first started taking weightlifting seriously at the age of 19, I weighed 12.5 stone, and I was the same height that I am now in both cases. In fact, actually, I'm an inch shorter now, so in theory, it's harder to be heavier. I've started to shrink with old age, so to speak. But what I would say is, you know, at the beginning it can be very hard to gain weight. I went for an entire year of training, serious training. This was when I was 19, without really gaining any weight whatsoever. Now, I think a lot of this was because I was doing a lot of cardio at the time. I believe that cardio and weights did come hand in hand. It's only later on that cardio took a complete preference, and cardio always remained, but it had a much lesser presence. But over that time, I gained probably 3 pounds over an entire year. I looked good. I weighed about 12.5 stone, and I think, you know, the next year after that, after about a year, I creeped up to about 13 stone 3. And at 13 stone 3, I've got photographs on Facebook of what I looked like when I was 13 stone 3, and I looked amazing in my personal opinion. I think that was a weight that really suited me. I looked athletic. I was chiseled. You know, when you touched me, it felt like you were touching rock. You know, it's not like, when if any guys have seen my Facebook meme, it's like, yeah, look at that, look how it's like touching rock, and you can see my things are going in. But it's not because I'm fat or anything as such. It's just I've got water content. That's all. But I was taking the piss. It's what I used to do when I was younger. You know, when girls were like, "Oh, let's feel your arms," and they'd be like, "Wow, they're rock solid." You know, they're like granite or whatever. That was me taking the piss out of past experiences in that sense. You find inspiration for characters you develop over time. If you haven't seen it, then I have a sort of recreation of it called "World's Strongest Man is Back." That is still, I believe, here on this channel. I may have removed it, but I think it's still here on this channel. So please check it out if you just want to see a glimpse of what it was like. You might think, oh yeah, I have seen that. But the meme itself is a video, and it must have gained millions of views by now. It's quite funny. It's funny when people respond to it very seriously. What else can I really talk about? Not a fat lot really to do with training. I think I've answered the mass majority of training questions that people ask me. The other questions they ask me, as I say, on a personal level, and they're to be answered in different videos. But this is my video answering you, or giving you the answers to questions about training, the most commonly asked questions about training, and I hope you find them useful. Cheers, guys.